Plastics are treated as a product that miraculously appears from nowhere, and it goes to nowhere. It starts when the oil and the gas leave the wellhead, and it keeps on being a problem at every step in the stage along the way. Why is it that we're seeing so much more plastics entering the environment? And there's no better place to be talking about that than here in Houston. This is the story of plastics.
Texas. It's the only one we've got.
The east end of Houston all the way to Baytown, it's almost a pattern. You have a refinery, a park, a school. A refinery, a park, a school. A chemical plant has a huge amount of green space next to it and is usually across from neighborhoods. Then a refinery, a park, a school, storage facility, a park, a neighborhood. Most of the industry along the Houston Ship Channel is the chemical complex, is the chemical cluster. So the chemicals are used for products, for plastic products. And I don't think people know that.
Chemicals cause health issues to the respiratory system, neurological system, cardiovascular systems. And so community members in this area are constantly reporting health issues in terms of breathing, in terms of headaches, nosebleeds.
Other people don't have to go through this. Why should we?
Mm-hmm. Far before the plastics enters our oceans and enters our waste streams and enters our food supplies, it is entering the communities that are being affected by this build out every day. And their reality is a reality that we've paid too little attention to for too long.
Like, most of these people want to talk, they want to speak, they have no idea. They've been living here their whole lives, and they'll come out to meetings and say, I had no idea that I was being exposed to X chemical for X amount of years, that it had any sort of like effects on my health or on my children. They'll say, I've been living here my entire life and I never looked at the refinery as hurting me.
That is part of the hidden story of plastics, and it's a part that needs to come into the light.
I would want someone who goes into a store to look at a plastic product to know that poor rural communities with no resources are experiencing the fracking. I want them to know that it took a pipeline, an 18-wheeler to cross through a community, because there is no 18-wheeler traffic in nice communities. That is being transported and it is being refined, and that it is causing everything from contamination of groundwater in rural communities to pipeline leaks and spills from point A to point B. And then when it gets over to our communities, that same material, that same raw material is being processed, that it's letting off toxic fumes, that it is shortening the lifespan of people, that it is shortening the lifespan of children, because folks who have lived in these communities and who have suffered the impacts have never seen one tear, have never seen $1, have never seen one organizer in their communities trying to stop the toxic health impacts. That's what I want them to know, that it is killing people.
I feel like I don't know how to answer anymore when people say, why are you focusing on plastic? Why is plastic a problem? I mean, I feel like I should just take them here and not say anything, just take them here for an hour and then see what they think, whether they think plastic bags are not a problem anymore. When What makes me so depressed is that you can't undo this, can you? It's not possible. The stratification of plastic bag layers have reached 4 or 5 meters deep into the soil. There's really no way of extracting it. I think what's most frustrating is that the industries are out there pushing the idea that this is all because of bad management. But they're distracting from the truth, which is that there's no way you can manage this waste. It's not meant to be managed. It has absolutely no value. It can't be recycled. It's not the communities and the people in rural areas that are uneducated and unwilling. It's the industries that are not letting them become educated enough to be aware about this. These industries that we're talking about, they're multinational corporations. They're not just fast-moving consumer goods industries. They're also plastic manufacturers. They're not just plastic manufacturers, they're also fossil fuel industries that provide the raw material for plastic pellets. But what bothers me is that people tend to look at these rivers and these polluted beaches and think, somebody needs to come here and clean it up. That's just completely wrong, because not only is it almost impossible and ineffective, but it's really not the solution. The solution is prevention. So plastic bag robbery is one of our most popular campaigns. We band together a bunch of volunteers. We give everybody reusable bags, and then we fan out into public places, into crowds. Whenever we see somebody who's carrying a plastic bag, we come up to them and then we say, we're going to take your plastic bag, but we're going to exchange it with this reusable bag. So the point of that is the exchange, really. There's an interaction that happens between the volunteer and the person who's carrying the plastic bag. And so immediately in their minds, there's a difference between something that's single-use and something that's reusable. Whether they're reusing it or not, that's a different story, because it's hard to compete with free plastic bags. What's incentivizing them to bring their own bags? Nothing. There has to be a policy, because that's the only way that you can get massive-scale lifestyle conversions. So it's light and it's fun is the first step to go. And that's how you get people interested, and that's how you get people to think of what more we could do.
If we see waste simply as an infrastructure issue, it will never work. In a zero-waste system, it's always people-centered. We always work with the communities. We believe in the power of the communities to solve their own waste problem if only given the right support to actually do it. And that is why we began to work with cities in the Philippines. When we talk about zero-waste cities, these are cities working towards zero waste. That is a goal. In a decentralized model, what we use are push carts, for example, and these allows us to go to each household and make sure that waste is collected at household level. The moment you provide waste pickers and waste collectors, the moment you provide a consistent schedule of collection with the right segregation bins, for example, all of our households comply, meaning the people want to do it. But the basic thing is, number one, we're ensuring that all waste are collected. Number two, that all organics are managed through composting on-site. The third thing is that we're able to recover as much recyclable waste as possible, as much paper, as much metal, as much plastic as possible. So the fourth point is that even in our zero waste models, they're able to reduce their waste by 7 to 8%, and still they're left with about 20 to 30% waste, residual waste, that they can neither compost nor recycle. But the beauty of a zero waste program is that we are not hiding these products. The zero waste program allows us to identify which products are beyond the capacity of communities to manage, which allows us then to engage the right people. In this case, corporations who are producing these products and packaging to either eliminate, redesign, or think of alternative delivery systems. Because if one community cannot manage it, one city cannot manage it, maybe the reality is that it's not manageable. The only way for us to address a specific product that is problematic is to not create it in the first place. We have tried to work with some corporations to address this problem, but what do they tell us? At this point, they're not made responsible for that. And that is what we want to change. That companies should stop that mindset that their responsibility ends when they sell it. They have to be responsible for the entire life cycle of the products that they produce. The solution cannot come from here, it has to come from the headquarters. These are typically in the US and in Europe. My vision for the future is all cities are going zero waste. After they've implemented the zero waste program, you can see the difference, you can smell the difference, you can feel the difference.
We got into recycling because we thought it was the right thing to do. Of course, it is a disposal service. At its core, it's taking stuff that people don't want anymore and trying to do something better than landfill with it. In 2013, under significant pressure from our city council, we began accepting non-bottle mixed rigid plastic. So all the plastic containers, berry containers, keg cups, plastic cold cups, from Starbucks. Procter & Gamble wants us all to believe that all their packaged goods are in, totally environmentally sound packaging. They want us all using single-use packaged products so that we're just, on the supply chain. It's totally unfair to the cities and the recyclers on the back end because then everyone says, oh, it's recyclable, it's recycle ready, you should collect it. Well, then what?
The United States was shipping over 50% of its plastics and its papers to China. The situation was very similar in Europe. We were just shipping it all to China. China will deal with it. And we built up these big recycling programs, and everything was about recycle. Recycle, recycle, recycle is the solution to everything because we had China there. So China's just said, you know what? We're sick of being a dumping ground, and we don't want this stuff introduced into our country. I see the China thing as a reckoning, because it's all been this false market where we've just been shipping stuff to China. This is, in my 25-year career, this is the biggest recycling crisis globally that we have ever seen.
At the same time, the tons are going up and up and up, the price is going down and down and down and down to the point where now it's costing us $50 a ton to get rid of. If you think we're just going to take it from China and ship it to Thailand or Indonesia or Vietnam, where's it going to go?
When the government shut down the recycling center, most people shift to more remote or hidden villages or other countries.
From US. This Nestle from UK. Yeah, it's from Australia. This came from Toronto. Dunkin' Donut. It's from Oregon. From New Zealand. Divana. Ya, awalnya kita memang merasa plastik ini sesuatu yang bagus ya. Jadi ini praktis begitu. Tapi kemudian terakhir kita bisa melihat bagaimana plastik itu berubah menjadi sebuah bencana bagi kita karena